Hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to Be with Mike G, the show of life, the show of DC art, jazz, coordinating events, and Drambuie. Today's guest is the amazing Vance Henderson of William Grant & Sons, traveling this nation of ours, spreading the fine love via drams of Drambuie. We sat down and chatted here just a few months ago. Actually, this was right after the Time Out Austin Bar Awards for 2017, and it was great getting to know Vance, get to understand the artist that he is and how so many different aspects of culture, art, and creativity just drive him to make great cocktails and make great experiences. And Vance will be back in Austin on August 28th for the Drambuie Modern Classics competition. It'll be a good party, and perhaps if you can get your hands on those details, you can come join and have some great sips. So without further ado, I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Vance Henderson.
I can't get enough now. It's interesting. I had heard about Austin's cocktail scene, restaurant scene for eons, for years, and hadn't had the opportunity to make it out. And just my first trip out, we did a competition, and it just like exceeded all expectations. So I'm like, I've got to get back.
It's a good spot. There's kind of everything. But if you want to eat well, you can. If you want to drink well, you can.
Absolutely.
But there's really this nice thread of health here, too. Do you pick up on that as kind of a guy coming in, that people are, they're outside all the goddamn time running and drinking juices?
Yeah, it reminds me, that feeling reminds me of like when I'm running around and walking around DC. When you walk, like everyone's running, everyone's getting some juice, everyone's like, sitting on the laptop, just looking, trying to make their plans for the gym. So cycling and getting in there.
Is that the modern health version of hustling? Is it the same thing, you think?
I think it's along similar lines, brother. Yeah. I think it is.
Making things happen with a kale juice in hand.
You've got to.
I like it. It's an interesting paradigm shift,
Yeah. I've been actually juicing at home. I've kind of rested my hat for the past 2 months on carrot juice, ginger, green apple, a little bit of cinnamon and cayenne. And it gets me to where I need to be in the morning, man.
Booster too, man. With the cayenne. Speaking of juice, I love green juices. I love sweet juices. Is there an area of the juicing realm that you're like, I just can't do it? Whether it's beet juice for some people, celery. There's some ingredients.
I'm adventurous, personally. I am not the biggest celery fan, but I'm able to kind of train myself in my mind that if I believe that it's healthy for me, if I believe that I'm getting something out of it, then I can make it work. For years, I couldn't stand club soda.
Really?
And it's like the lightest, blandest thing, but it was something about it.
Did it make you irritable? Some people, it actually drives into that.
No, it didn't. I used to be a heavy soda fan. Coca-Cola, Cherry Coke was my thing. And a couple years ago, I decided to leave as much high fructose corn syrup as I could alone. I was like, all right, I need a little fizz in my life. So just trained myself. I'm like, club soda does it for me.
Did you get the Topo Chico face?
I'm in love with that Topo.
How does it? I know maybe in terms of minerality and stuff how they're different, but they're both still that kind of blunt, bubbly, flavorless liquid. What's the difference there? How does Topo work?
I mean, it depends. What I get from Topo is like power. As soon as I pop open that bottle, it's like fireworks.
Yeah.
And it gives me everything that I need to have,
Man.
And the flavor's good. You don't get
good.
anything like the chemicals or like it's been treated, like any of that going on. It's like it's clean, it's crisp, and it's there.
Yeah.
It's there.
It's got its personality.
It does.
And people think it's this big cult down here, but the reality is it's just good.
Yeah.
Like pork roll. in
Oh,
New Jersey.
don't take me back.
So this is a good point to transition. I'm thinking about pork roll because it's not something, Bill Norris who's here, he's from New Jersey. Jay Cosmos is from Jersey. These guys talk about pork roll all the time. I can't really find it. So just because you now are kind of the patron saint of New Jersey in the room, tell me what the hell is pork roll? Try to describe this for me.
Man, wow. I guess the simplest way to think about it is a very large sausage in a sense that's sliced thin. So if you were to slice it, it would look like a slice of bologna if you were to look at it.
Yeah.
But it has the texture of like a sausage chorizo or something like that. Wow. Salty, savory, caramelized sweetness. It's just amazing. I like to. Again, I'm trying to be healthy these days, so
this is
it's been a long time
for you.
That's one of the guilty pleasures. How about that?
Yeah.
# guilty pleasures. Yeah, I mean, I would throw that thing in a cast iron skillet, man, with a little bit of butter, and I just let it crisp to golden brown. Even a little bit burnt on the edges, man. It's like, ooh. No, that's good.
So what's the best way to eat it? So you talk about how you prepare it. Is it sandwich the best way? And a tortilla, is that the best way? Although that is crossing cultures a bit. But.
Yeah, well, I always enjoyed it. Breakfast with scrambled eggs.
Oh, yeah.
Some good cheese eggs. That works well. Or a sandwich works perfect as well. So I steer clear of white bread these days. But back in the day, it was like white bread, some Swiss cheese, and pork roll, a little bit of mayonnaise, and it's like, leave me alone for the day. Just let me lay in my hammock.
Now everybody's drawn in. We're talking about Topo Chico. They're like, oh, I get Topo Chico. And then we said, bring in the flavor bomb now.
Come on, man. Ooh,
and we're going to talk about the Drambuie cocktail in just a few minutes, too. So this is good. Already this is good. My mind's moving.
Yeah, man.
A little early. My stomach's kind of getting...
for real.
Good, right?
Yeah.
So you're a New Jersey guy. That's where you grew up.
Born and bred, Atlantic City, New Jersey, a little town right outside of there called Pleasantville. Has nothing to do with the movie. Nothing to do with the movie.
Would you say it's a stark contrast to the movie?
In every imaginable sense.
What kinds of things do you do as a kid in Pleasantville?
I was the extracurricular kid, so I did like everything that there was to do. Student government. I ran track. A lot of community events and organizing. That was my thing. Like if there was something going down, I was there.
You wanted to be in the middle of it.
Kind of like a junior mayor, Probably could have stood in.
A man of the people. Where do you learn that? What did your folks do? Are they in that same industry?
No. Actually, my folks, my mother worked in the medical field. Yeah. And my father was in casinos. Casinos were very big in Atlantic City. Not so much anymore. But sadly.
Yeah, sadly. Well, and I watch Boardwalk Empire now and again. And
it took me back, man.
Up, right?
It took me back.
It was a pretty interesting seeing those things, very familiar landscapes and everything.
Yes.
Well, when you think about the medical profession, I imagine it's on the patient side or is it on the sales side for your mom?
She was on the patient side.
Yeah. So already these threads of hospitality are kind of percolating.
Without question, you've got to be able to take care of people, man. Like even in the casino and game industry, it's layered in hospitality.
Yeah, it is definitely the underbelly of the whole thing. Mm-hmm. You got to take people and you got to save them from themselves, and sometimes
you do.
Cut them off.
Got to go now.
To go. So the college route for you sounds like you were doing pretty good academically, studying a lot of different things, really open to the community, which is a great thing.
Yeah. I was always had the mindset of I wanted to explore and see as much as I could. I wanted to go as far as I could, not to get away, but just to see something new and something different.
Yeah, the learning aspect of it, maybe.
Everything, culture, food, people. And I really can't say how I landed on and in Washington, D.C. or at Howard University, but that was where I rested my hat for my matriculation. Yeah. And I think D.C. was a great launching pad for being able to experience all those different realms. I mean, it's transient. It's people from all over the place. It's a melting pot of culture and. It's just amazing. You get everything. You get politics. You get music. You get food. I mean, it's the cocktail scene is crazy. It's just come so far in the very short 16 years that I've been there. I've got a grandfather who's been there maybe 45 years.
Wow.
And I can't imagine the change that he's seen in that time, because what I've seen in my 16 years is mind-blowing. It literally boggles my mind.
Yeah. What do you think is the main change? Is it progress? Is it hospitality? What kinds of things have really...
I think it's a combination of both of those, actually.
Yeah.
It's the capital, of the U.S., but it's also the capital of the world. So, right. I mean, in essence, it has to kind of move with the times. Of course, we're in such a polarizing political arena now, but it really doesn't stop the city.
Yeah.
And it has, these amazing, roots in how it came together, and then, being steeped in so much culture. And then, going through those tragedies of the 60s and, the 70s and the riots and the downfall and, all of that, and drugs, taking over. But then, like, this resurgence, in the 90s, and then we see the 2000s and the 2010s. Is that what you would call them, the 2010s?
I don't need, yeah,
no, what do you call them?
Right,
yeah. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. It's a beautiful thing to see. A lot of gentrification.
Yeah, I was going to ask. That's something that, as someone not from D.C., that I always knew. And that's actually what created some great art there, frankly.
Yes.
That polarized kind of culture. Flashing,
I mean, it's just amazing. Langston Hughes, U Street. It's just steeped in rich, culture and history and art and music and food and soul. And I think I try to pull, with my working with Drambuie, a lot of those essences, if you will, pour them into the brand and then pull them out of the brand, from its storied past as well.
Yeah, it is. We're talking about Charlotte and chatted with her yesterday, and she said she likes to use old Dickens novels to get inspiration, which is an interesting piece. But to your point, it's the same thing of going back in history, both from where you've been around and surrounded by in DC, but also in the story of Drambuie itself. Yeah, I mean, it's
just endless information that is out there. Endless history, endless, whatever you could call it, and you can always pull from it and cut and shape and mold it into something new or something that supports something else.
Yeah. That's what music is, I guess.
Oh man,
if you think about it.
That's why, I love music. I love live music. I do love jazz. I'm all over the place, really. But I'm a big jazz fan. Neo soul as well. And for me, it's just the feeling. It's just the feeling that it makes you feel. Whether it's rhythm and blues or rock or country or gospel. It's like all of them give you something else for something else. And it's just outrageous, to think that these different systems and different components have these powers, to impact you in such a way.
It's an incredible thing. You like to imbibe upon all the cultures, it feels like. It feels like you're always out there just feeling it, kind of absorbing it. Is that fair?
No, absolutely. I would agree. I think you have to be.
Yeah.
I have been in the hospitality industry as long as I could remember. I mean, from knee-high, being in the kitchen, working at, church or, helping out in school or in the community or something like that, or, older, friends or mentors who had catering companies or ran restaurants, like always there. And it kind of just followed me. So I always have had an eye and an ear for learning, about people and conversations and how people interact and, what energizes and encourages, through food and as I've gotten older, through cocktails. So I started in food.
Yeah.
And in another life, I had a catering company and an underground supper club. So again, all of those layers of hospitality made for a very smooth, if we will, transition into the cocktail scene or imbibing, because they go hand in hand.
You're absolutely right. Being in DC, and this isn't a political thing, but you are open and not afraid of new. Right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Being unafraid of new and the unknown. Those are things that I really embrace, and hopefully my personality, my life, and you as well, because that's where you really get all the good stuff coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like when you're out there on the road and you're talking to people in all different areas of the States, right? do you get the sense that people are afraid of different? Because that's kind of the monologue that's being sold, right?
I think what I've been able to pick up is that there are, I'm pretty sure, many things, but I've paused at two major things that I think the world would benefit from.
Yeah.
And one is education, without question. Higher learning just goes such a long way. But with that is travel, seeing someone and something new, a new way of doing something, a different way, not just new, a different way of doing breakfast, a different way of playing sports, a different way of going out and having dinner, or a different way of drinking or toasting. It just teaches tolerance. And if you go further and allow yourself to go further, it teaches understanding.
Empathy even.
It does. And I think when we are closed off from other cities and other states and other countries, other cultures, we don't expand. So you stay in your little pocket. You stay on Bayview Avenue in Pleasantville, New Jersey. You stay, on Grant Circle in Washington, D.C. That's all that you see. Now, if it's a transient, city or melting pot, that helps you. But if it's, some, little city, a little town, and that's all you see, that's all you really know. And it's
a travesty, I think.
I was going to say it's sad, and I'm not knocking it, because sometimes that's that's our circumstances.
How do you know it's different? Yeah.
But it's I honestly believe I have the absolute best job in the world, being an ambassador for Drambuie, being able to travel and meet people, and to just learn and expand myself, and then pour into other people about this brand and then just life. But I think the more I travel, the more that I see, and the more that I'm expanded, the more that I grow, the sadder I become for those who don't have the opportunity to do that. Like, man, how sad would it be to live life and never see another state, to never see another country, to never stand on a mountain and look down, to never be in the middle of the ocean and look around and see water as far as the eye could see, to stand on dunes and it's just sand, as far as I could see. Like, those things that blow your mind but also make you feel small in the world. Like, that pricks me. That pricks me on the inside.
It's the crux of humility, I think, is to feel insignificant but yet still strive to be significant. Yes. Right? It's an interesting thing, but really a lovely way to phrase it as well. So for me, then, the question becomes, you've got all these talents, these innate feelings about the world and the community, but it turns out that, and I didn't realize this, but you were studying broadcast journalism and TV at Howard.
I did radio, TV, and film communications.
Were you going to try to do the network broadcasting stuff, or what flavor of it?
See, this is the growing piece about when you're making decisions in college. So I always tell anyone, follow your heart. Sure. Follow what your passion is. If you don't know the time, then just seek and do, and sharpen yourself and rub yourself up against something that encourages you, right, or challenges you. That way you can figure out what it is that you want. I've always loved the camera. I've always loved stage. I've always loved, being the center of attention. Yeah, I'll admit it.
No problem there.
Yeah, I enjoy acting. I enjoy making people feel good. I enjoy putting a smile on someone's face. So I wanted to be an actor. And I was on a full scholarship to anywhere I wanted to go. Again, I landed at Howard. And I felt, being young at the time, and then always taking into consideration what other people were thinking about you, what pleasing other people, what makes someone else happy, that going into fine arts or theater wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough. I felt that it wasn't professional enough. Like, it wouldn't be professional enough for the people that put into scholarship or whatever to get me here.
Were you thinking about the financial feasibility of it, which that plays when you talk about salaries?
I wasn't. I wasn't.
Good. Okay.
No,
so it was something else.
No, I was like, it's just, he had a full scholarship and he went for fine arts. Yeah. That's what my thinking was at the time. Small thinking. So I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go and still deal with the TV and be in radio, TV, and film. I'll go and do stuff on radio, and I can, write treatments and scripts and, write for television, which I enjoyed.
Yeah. May I ask just real quickly, who are a few of the people that, in terms of actors, that were influential for you?
Ooh.
You love their styles and their films.
I really like Denzel Washington.
Oh, yeah.
For different aspects. He has a connector lining between his characters that is very similar. Almost as if you were to look at Johnny Depp being a character actor. It's like they're all different, but somehow they're all the same. Right? But he just plays roles in such a dynamic way. Russell Crowe is absolutely
so American Gangster must have been a great movie.
Man, I'm like both of them together.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, man, it's just great. Those two guys are, they do it for me.
Yeah.
They really just do it for me.
And as a writer, what kinds of things did you like? Would you see yourself writing? A comedic writer, drama, crime?
All over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like I am with cocktails. Whatever I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And or whatever the situation calls for,
right.
I will adapt for that.
So the transition into radio and TV, at what point did you say, maybe hospitality is still where my heart is at?
I, throughout college, had always worked in restaurants.
Yeah.
As I started from the bottom, now I'm here, all the way from doing dishes, bussing, bar backing. I was a host, maitre d'. Asked just to learn a few things behind the bar, and the next week my manager put me on there, for full training. So it was that kind of matriculation throughout all my entire college experience, and then after I still did it. While I was trying to look for the broadcasting job, or I'd worked at a radio station, a news station.
Oh, okay.
And it was interesting. It was interesting to write and to produce and to direct and to manage, but it didn't really tickle my fancy for my creative, in a sense of being able to shine.
Yeah.
To be able to make someone feel something by the way that I look at them, right. or the way that I speak, or smiling at them.
Hospitality was removed.
It was missing.
Yeah.
It was missing. So again, I had always had that, back burner, gigs at restaurants where I was, or at bars, and it just kind of stuck with me until transition.
When did your talents as an actor, your talents as a composer of flavor and of thoughts, right, as a writer, it feels like a brand ambassador gig is maybe the perfect stage for all of these talents to culminate.
I was just talking to Cheryl last night. We went for a nightcap and just to recap and talk. And excuse me, I was saying to her, like, I just feel like I've landed in the perfect place.
Yeah.
And I feel that it's the perfect job because it fits so well. And, I can look over the last 15, 16 years of being in bars and running bar programs, being a bartender,
right.
Being a chef, having the catering company, producing, events and weddings and funerals, or, bar mitzvahs, or whatever it was. And, managing service schedules or bar schedules, or, buying product for the week and coming up with pars, doing beverage programs, doing bar competitions and events, and organizing events locally for, the community of bartenders. All of that litany of 50 different jobs, I now do in one.
It's crazy, isn't it?
And I get to do all of that while traveling, while feeding, my need for more and in culture, and meeting people and shaking hands and putting smiles on faces, and being able to create something with my hands and with my thoughts that someone else can consume and enjoy and if by chance they enjoy it, if by chance they get some satisfaction from what I'm able to produce for them via a cocktail or story or food, then the gratification that I get from that.
Yeah, massive.
Man.
Resounding.
Oh, man. I'm in a perfect place. I'm in a perfect place.
You remember the Karate Kid from the 80s?
Sure do.
Of course. Daniel San doesn't understand that these tedious, what he considers to be tedious tasks, like painting a fence or waxing the hood of a car,
Wax.
that they become something that is so paramount to his success when all of those things come together.
Mm-hmm.
So in a sense, you're listing of all these things, and it's like, this was the fate.
Training, yeah.
It was training, and you just don't know it in the moment. And
You
I
don't.
think that's really an important thing for anybody in this industry, or even in life, to realize is that just because you don't like this specific task maybe,
Yeah.
and you don't see a larger application of it, does not mean that it's not going to make you a well-rounded person that can do something even greater than you thought.
It's the truth.
It is.
You know, it's like for years I either worked in kitchens or for catering companies or things, and I was relegated to washing dishes.
Yeah.
You know, these huge pots and pans, for these large scale events. But that was an important role, for those events and those productions.
Yeah.
And even today, in being, an ambassador and being fortunate and blessed enough to be in a role where I'm able to travel the entire country, span the entire nation. I'm not so high and mighty that I can't come into an event, that we have producers for, or we have a PR team and this, and that I can't juice lemons.
Yeah. You were prepping last night. I saw you.
Yeah, man. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And we do what we have to do to get the job done.
It's amazing.
And I'm not any different from anyone else. If you can juice, I can juice. If you can cut lemons, I can cut lemons too. If you're going to pick mint, I can pick mint. It is what it is. Let's make it happen. And we'll give high fives and hugs after.
That's amazing. So when I think about the serendipity that led you to this role,
Mm-hmm.
when you were introduced to Drambuie, what kind of relationship did you have with that spirit at first?
My first bartending role or gig was in Union Station in Washington, D.C. Very transient, Congress people, commuters, in and out, fast track. And it was by far not a mixology bar, quote unquote. There were not fresh pressed juices, sour mix and commercial syrups were the call of the day. Cosmopolitans and Cape Cods and screwdrivers, and having a glass of Cabernet Pinot Noir ready when these regulars come every day to get their 4:45 or whatever train.
Yeah.
And I can recall in my reflection one guest, not young lady, she was a little bit older, who always requested a Rusty Now. And back then I had no idea what it was. I looked in my, Mr. Boston, my bartender book, and, saw the recipe, and I made it. Nothing more, nothing less. And I flash forward to, 11 years later, when I'm working on a few other brands in William Grant and Sons portfolio. I was working on Hendrick's, Monkey Shoulder, Florida Cognac Rum, Milagro Tequila. And then they said, well, we want you to work on this brand too, Drambuie. So I started doing my research. I'm like, man, it's got some history on it. 1745.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Aged Scotch whiskey. Oh, a combination of aged Scotch whiskey, so it's more than one. All right. Heather honey. I'm familiar with honey, but what is so different about heather honey? Research on that. And then, this mysterious combination of herbs and this mysterious combination of spices. All these secrets. Aged Scotch whiskey, heather honey, herbs, and spices. Do my research. That combination sounds great. I taste it. It's fantastic. And I think what caught me was that Drambuie had a story.
Yeah.
It had a history. It had a culture. And I think it also had I don't want to say a bad rap. It had its luster had dissipated.
That's right, fallen from grace.
Its shine had faded. And today, as I travel, I say, I believe it did not fade because of the quality of the liquid. It's got longevity. We're talking about over 270 years here. I believe that there was not a conversation, a in-depth, challenging, invigorating conversation about Drambuie.
Yeah.
And go through the history of the liquid, finding its way from France to the Isle of Skye with Bonnie Prince Charlie, Charles Edward Stuart. Him going to war to try to restore his family back into power. The Brits beating him and his army, mercilessly and embarrassingly, and chasing them off into the Isle of Skye. Him finding help there in a fellow clansman, and as a gift, and as an expression of hospitality, giving him his personal and secret elixir. That
personal secret elixir.
Secret elixir.
Brilliant.
And that liquid, finding its way 100 years later into the Broadford Hotel and being put together, in whatever fashion it was to, make Drambuie and Drambuie. I don't know if I can pronounce Gaelic, pronounce it properly in Gaelic. But, Drambuie in short, which means the drink that satisfies. And that coming from a bartender to be given to guests, to be shared, hospitality. And, years later, finding it's probably being at the height of its shining and notoriety and being so fantastic and so exquisite and so exclusive that the Rat Pack wanted in on it. That Sinatra, wanted to drink Drambuie. That, Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr., they had to have, rusty nails and, just that elevation of swagger and coolness and smoothness then. And then from then, in the 60s, the 50s and the 60s to, you say, a couple years ago, there hadn't been a conversation. There really hadn't been a challenge of how else do you think about Drambuie other than the rusty nail? How else do you use Drambuie other than the rusty nail? Nothing, in my opinion. So what is the challenge, but is also so easy for me today, is to just have the conversation, to go into these amazing bars that I come across the United States and the country, and literally just ask the question or ask the bartender, hey, show me a buoy.
Yeah.
Pull it off the back bar. If it's got dust on it, dust it off, and show me what you can do with it. Don't make me rusty now. We know rusty now. You taste it, you get honey, you want to sub out honey and a penicillin, I got that. Don't make me a penicillin. Now make me something. Taste it, get those warm spice, honey, all of those notes, those herbs, that herbaceousness, that spice. How do you complement and how do you contrast that with the wealth of liquid that you have on your back bar?
Yeah. What makes it, what is its identity in terms of its flavor? What are the colors that you think of? What are the places that it takes you to?
So when I was resting my hat in the realm of jazz, and I'll talk to you a bit about why I was linking Drambuie to jazz for a period versus just music as a whole. It was because of improvisation between the two. But again, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
I think I might have just lost my track on where I was.
Are we talking about jazz? Was there a notable figure that drank Drambuie in that scene? You talk about the Rat Pack, of course.
Oh, yeah. Well, Sinatra, that was his drink of choice.
Yeah.
As legend would have it. We actually do an event in Palm Springs, which is held at Frank Sinatra's home.
Oh, man.
And it's just a great backdrop
Yeah.
for that period, though. But again, that period is known. We're trying to open up, and we're not trying, we are doing it. We're opening up the gaze and the spectrum of where and how Drambuie should be used.
Yeah.
But again, why I did draw correlations between jazz or musicianship and Drambuie or bartenders is because of the similarities that they have. You think improvisation, you think instrumentation. The musician has his instrument. The bartender has their tools. In jazz, the musician has an idea of where he wants to go, but you're going for the ride. You're buckling up, putting your hands up and saying, hey, take me down and bring me back up. Yeah. And it's the same thing when you're creating cocktails, on the spot, showing your improvisation. You have an idea of where you want to go, but you just go for the ride. Yeah. So in essence, it's intuition meeting instrumentation between the two. Right. But again, that's not relegated just to jazz. It's music in general as a whole. Absolutely. And again, how you make people feel. Yeah. When I can feel a certain way if I'm listening to music on, my phone or iPod or radio or whatever it is. But if I'm in the building, if I'm in the front row or the second row, or if I'm in the middle or I'm on the balcony, and you can feel that snare, you can feel that the drum, that bass, that sax, you can feel that trumpet, which happens to be my favorite instrument. The fingers running across, the piano keys, like you feel that. You can hear it, you can see it, but can't anybody tell me anything different from I can't feel that, because you can. Same way with cocktails.
Well, I think that, we talked about sandwiches, we talked about topo, coffee, all these things, man. I'm just so interested in this cocktail that, we've been talking about it kind of before we started taking. But so this is your expression and the way you feel about Drambuie that is coming through. You're the conduit. So what is this cocktail that we're talking about here? You're going to mix up, hopefully.
The cocktail that I wanted to do today was a coffee cocktail with Drambuie. It's called the Bees and the Trees. And I chose a coffee cocktail, one, because we did a coffee cocktail with Drambuie last night for the Time Out Magazine Austin Bar Awards.
Yeah, great event.
Last night we did a very simple stirred cocktail with Drambuie, which is called the Java Royale. And the coffee, cold brew coffee, which has just been on fire in the country. Yeah. And it's huge here in Texas.
We manufacture like 3 of the main brands here in town. It's very funny.
My gosh, it's great. Topo and Chameleon.
Got lots to do. So we got to be fueled, right?
So Chameleon Cold Brew, we partnered with them in 2017. It's been a great partnership to express their different flavors of cold brew through cocktails with Drambuie. Yeah. And they've got some phenomenal, just the liquid itself and then the infusions of flavors is really fantastic. So last night we used their vanilla cold brew to do a cocktail called the Java Royale, which is 1 part Drambuie, a half part of green chartreuse, which is another herbal liqueur, and then 3 parts of their vanilla cold brew, stirred over ice, and then garnished with a piece of candied ginger. Wow. Bold, coffee forward, some rounded sweet notes, not overly anything in one direction. It was fantastic. And today I want to show you a different expression of a coffee cocktail with Drambuie. One, because I want to always just put them in different realms that are expected. Yeah. You think about history, and people thought about Drambuie in one particular way. The rusty nail, or being paired with whiskey, or in a stirred cocktail, or it's got to be in some dark bar, smoke filled and this, that, when it can be anywhere. And then you think about coffee cocktails over, however many years, and you would initially go to hot coffee after dinner with a little bit of liqueur or cordial in it, and then maybe it's topped with whipped cream. That's the thought. Right. I want to blow both of those concepts out of the water. So we're doing one today that's more of a punch style with Drambuie Reka Vodka, which is one of my favorites.
Go Trevor, right? Talk about actors.
Mighty Schneidi. He's so awesome. The cocktail ninja. He's a good friend and a good brother. So the Drambuie, the Reka Vodka, Chameleon's Mexican flavor is going to give you higher notes of like cinnamon and those bacon spices. Good stuff. Some lemon juice, some apple cider, and then we're going to finish it off with a little bit of fresh mint, because mint is just brightens things. Then also adds much appreciated herbal note
like a
and
crispness.
dries it out.
Yeah, there you go.
Dries out. And again, it's about complementing and contrasting Drambuie properly.
It's the syncopation and staccato in the song.
Man, if I could reach you across this table, I'd give you a high five, man. And then finally with some nutmeg.
Beautiful. We talk punch style, which makes sense. When you think about punches, do you always want to try to tame off sweetness because people have such an aversion to it? Or is it something else for you?
No, I think sweetness is detrimental to a punch.
Yeah.
You've got to, have your spirit. You've got to have your citrus. You've got to have your sweetness or your sugar. You've got to have, your herbs and your spices. And then, water or dilution. All of those play equally key roles in creating a well-balanced punch.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about, a punch you would pull off the shelf at a store with, all of these artificial sweeteners and everything that put you in the mindset of this is what a punch is.
Yeah.
It's almost like you say the word daiquiri to the masses and they're like, oh, strawberry daiquiri. Oh,
right.
It's super sweet, or I got to be, on a cruise ship somewhere. No, I say daiquiri. I think of the classic daiquiri with, rum and sugar and citrus.
Balance.
That's it.
Yeah.
So again, it's re-educating, reteaching, and retasting. Liquid to lips is what we want, and that creates an entire new perspective of how things are, whether it's coffee cocktails or whether it's Drambuie or any realm.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I can already smell the lemon in the air.
Yeah, brother. It's them oils.
You gotta love the oils. Citrus. There's nothing that beats fresh citrus, though. That's the key.
You cannot skimp on fresh citrus. I don't know how much more I could emphasize that. Like, the little green and yellow bottles.
Oh, it's rubbish, man.
Like, you can't.
Yeah.
Just don't make the cocktail.
Yeah.
I'm saying it now. I'm not embarrassed about it. I will stand by this till the day I die. It's got to be fresh citrus.
I totally agree. Don't auto-tune that shit.
Yeah.
See, there we go.
For real. Like, come on. So we get you a bit of garnish going on here, brother.
Nice, fresh. Man, I'm glad we're in a conference room because I could smell all of this stuff in an amplified way.
I know.
Love it. How's it taste? See, I'm just waiting like a little kid here on Christmas.
You know it's on the way.
I love this anticipation part.
And again, it's just a new way of thinking and experiencing something that you would think is familiar. We know coffee cocktails.
Yeah.
Or we have an idea of what they would be like, but not like this.
It is a great combo of flavors, so I'm really excited.
There you are, sir.
Thank you so much,
So the
Vance.
bees in the trees.
Damn. Well, I like the honey piece. And
There
I
you
smell
go.
the trees right there, right?
There you go.
God, I'm one lucky bugger on a Tuesday morning to fucking hang out with you and sip this. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So bees in the trees, we're doing
Jesus.
3/4 part of Drambuie, 3/4 parts of Reka vodka, a half part of, we're using Chameleon's caramel flavor, cold brew there.
Dude.
Half part of lemon juice, 2 parts apple cider, ice, mint, and then the fresh grated nutmeg, like give you some really nice aromatics. So
Yeah. Wow.
dry, tart, sweet, spiced, herbaceous, bright, clean, refreshing. And it's Drambuie and it's coffee anywhere. Like, I could drink that on my back porch. I could drink it on the beach. It works
Versatile,
for
man.
happy hour.
Yeah.
Like, the versatility, this is what it is.
Do you want to know why I think it's versatile?
Talk to me.
It feels familiar to me. All these flavors I know, right? This is a melody I've heard before, but still unique and composed in a way that I really am intrigued by.
Yeah.
So, dude, it's
I appreciate that, brother.
Good work.
Yeah,
on
man.
That. I love just I'm pleasured in every possible way here on the palate. So, how did you feel about the event last night? The Timeout Bar Awards
It
and
was
all.
a great event. As I stated last night, my first visit to Austin was last year, and I heard so much leading up to the visit about just how great it was. The culinary scene was on the rise. The cocktail scene was on the rise. Everyone's coming from everywhere into the city. It packs up in the day. The traffic is a nightmare. And
Just like a real good city.
And then when I arrived and we hosted our competition last year, and I was able to visit different bar programs and meet different bartenders, it exceeded every expectation in the most positive of ways. And I love it. So it's like I'm always rushing, like, how can I get back? How can I get back? How can I get back? And the more people I meet, I'm like, yes, another connect. I'm coming back. I'm coming to visit you. Yeah. You come visit me. And it was great. So, with Time Out last night at their bar awards, it was just great to see all of those people. I mean, it was like a packed rooftop.
Yeah, man.
It was hot as two hells. That's right. Yes, it was. But it was amazing. It was good vibes. And I often say that with Drambuie, we shake it, we stir it, and we groove. And all of that went down last night. The music was tight. The cocktails were great. The city, the people of Austin looked amazing. Yeah. They were supportive of their community. You see that love. So I always talk about like sharing the buoy love. Like that's what you and I just did now. And I made you something with my hands, with what I call the living liquid legend, and you, whether you believe it or not, or you're just, fluffing my feathers, you seem to enjoy it.
Oh, I like it.
And that's sharing the buoy love. And we were able to do that last night with them, the city, and Time Out magazine, which was just so great, man. Right. It just was a good feeling. I don't know. I'm just all about feels these days. Like, give me good feels.
I totally agree with you because things are sanitized. Technology kind of sanitized stuff, But I know you got a lot of great work still left to do here in Austin before you take off tomorrow morning. And we've got two more questions for you. One of which, these are things I really am curious about. Sure. So we're going to take whatever bar in the world, your favorite bar in the world, we're going to actually drink this cocktail right here because this is on my mind and it's really exceptional. So you're at your favorite bar in the world, you're sipping this cocktail, and you can share this cocktail with anybody living or deceased. Who would you like to sit and have a conversation with?
Over this cocktail?
Yeah. This probably colors a little bit, but still, it's a good guidepost, I think.
Oh, man. This is going to be so polarizing. But
that's good.
It is what it is. Our most immediate former president, Barack Obama.
Oh, yeah.
I'd sit and I'd drink those all day.
Yeah.
And just listen about the experience that he had. I would want to know the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Like just give it to me straight about the experience. I would steer clear of opinions on the climate and, where we are, with the way things are and where he thinks we're headed. But just the experience of having been what people call the first African-American president of the United States, how he took that in, how he wrapped his mind around it, how the interactions were, with the staff, going into the White House, living there, having two daughters, having a wife, regardless of my opinions about him as the man, as the president. Talk to me about that experience, because that's
a human experience.
Yeah.
Challenging, feeling prejudice, feeling optimism, all these things, doing something no one has ever done in the United States before.
Yeah.
There's something truly remarkable.
8 years of the good, the bad, and like give it to me. I want to hear that. I want to look into your eyes when you tell me about it. And I know it would blow my mind. It would literally blow my mind. And then I'm sitting having a cocktail with Barry.
Barry?
With Barry.
Barry White?
No, with Barack. They call him Barry.
Oh, Barry. Okay. Sorry. Barry got me thinking about voices, man.
He could be my darling. I can't get enough of your love, babe.
He'd start singing after one drink, I bet.
Oh my gosh,
it'd be pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the last question I've got for you, because there's so many interesting pieces, so many different molecules to your career. You have a lot of interests, a lot of talents, and you brought all these things, culmination of this, into being the brand ambassador for Drambuie, which is something that, I'm interested now. You got me interested. I think that's the whole point, right? Bringing it back in to the conversation. And I know that this is a great role, and I know there's so much capacity to do great stuff with William Grant and Sons. But do you think about what you're doing beyond that? Do you think you would return into acting? Do you think you own a bar? What does that future kind of look like for you?
Oh.
That's right. Job interview question right there.
I know. I really haven't given thorough thought to the future of what I want to do or where I would like to land. And I think primarily because there's so much to do right where I am.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the ride of doing it. Like it's so humbling to be the gatekeeper and the guardian of the story and the history and the legend of Drambuie.
Yeah.
And it overwhelms me in thought sometimes to think that my journey of doing all of those different roles, of meeting all of those different people, of having so many different people pour into my life and speak into my life, that I've arrived here. For Drambuie, 1745, from France to Scotland, on the Isle of Skye, in the Highlands, making its way to the U.S., and the 21 Club in New York, the Rusty Nail, the Rat Pack, new packaging, multiple different packagings, being a modern classic, to arriving today. We both have arrived at this particular place, at this particular time, to make magic happen. And I believe that, I accept it, and I'm ready to impart to everyone that I'm able to meet and come in contact with the highest energy and the thoroughest understanding of what Drambuie is. And if there are any walls that are left up, any barriers that are left up, that have been built around this brand over the last 270 years, that have put it in a box, that have put it in a corner, that have put it, behind so many other brands collecting dust on back bars. I want to tear those walls down. I want to kick those damn doors in. I want to dust, bust, and whatever it is, all of those dust and thoughts and ideas and preconceptions about this brand out. Yeah.
A man with a journey.
And demand and challenge anyone, whether it's a consumer, a drinker, a bartender, an owner, a buyer, whatever the terms are for many different consumers, and challenge them to show me their buoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a plan, mate.
I can only do what I can do, bro.
Changing the social construct and the perception of Drambuie. It's been a brilliant chat, man.
Man, it's been a pleasure, Doc.
It's really enjoyed it. DC's lucky to have you. And William Grant Sons, the finest motley crew of personalities I've ever come across in this industry, man.
You're very kind.
Great. Can't wait to see what you're up to next, man. Godspeed on the rest of your travels. Thanks, Vance.
I appreciate you. Thank you kindly.
Well, there we have it. Vance Henderson of Drambuie, part of the William Grant & Sons portfolio. I was very unfamiliar with Drambuie. The name, of course, I've heard about in some classic cocktails, but getting to experience that flavor with Vance, who made me a cocktail in this amazing workspace downtown in Austin, was really a nice experience. It was early in the morning, but at least it had some chameleon cold brew coffee in it, which always helps in the morning. So, Vance, thank you so much for chatting art, chatting acting, chatting your life with me, and I can't wait to see you back in town on August 28th for Drambuie Modern Classics. Details are out there if you can get them, and yeah, it's kind of nice being secretive. So thanks everybody for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter how disappointed you may or may not have been after watching Detroit, or if you're thinking, man, Dunkirk might have been a better movie, please keep dancing.